Georgia, and the legislative body didn't have their own auditors. They depended on the administration. So guess what they did? All kinds of manipulations. And so we have figures tonight thrown out as to the savings on the contract, savings that initially will be there, and they're much smaller than has been suggested by a member of the council. Much smaller. You're playing with figures. I'm the guy that knows something about figures. I'm a guy that spent 36 years in this business, and for my last 10 years in the city, I drew $100 a week because I became a millionaire through investments that I made. I never made the six figures. And then, when I became a multimillionaire 5 years ago, I gave away $2 million. Now, how many people do that? Not too many. And then I hear the council comments from my councilman about passion. I have passion, Mr. Councilman, and I will join this suit to reverse the action that you take. You know, I offered $1 million to the CAO of a city for the animal center. $1 million. That's in addition to the $2 million I've already given away. But he was so busy pushing Trail Ridge, so he didn't take it. $1 million is still there. And the other thing is that this Trail Ridge is a Bernie Madoff ripoff of the taxpayers, no matter how you look at it. And it's the poorest of the poor, not the people that the president says he's going to tax, the 200 to 250. These are the average people. And we're going to fight this thing. If I have to go down with another $1 million to fight it, we'll fight it all the way. Bernie Madoff isn't, and thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Joe Andrews, is Mr. Andrews still here? Larry Jones, Sr., Mr. Jones, followed by Stanley Scott, followed by Dave Smith.
Hey.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Larry D. Jones, Sr., 1510 West 7th Street, Jacksonville, Florida. You know, the fact that y'all, passed this guy forward for the Equal Rights Commission tells me that y'all is not in the dark ages. But as a black man, 53 years old, nobody knows much better than death, degradation, and racism than I do, because I was out of a job because of that fact, working for the city of Jacksonville. As a matter of fact, well, she's not sitting at a thing right now, I had to enlist her help and some other help from other people to get some help for this Willie Lynch, type mentality. And matter of fact, would you city council people do me a favor and rent you a bus and ride up in my neighborhood? I mean, just ride through there and just look at it. And that explains why this garbage tax is just what it is, garbage tax. Because most of the houses on my street, 7th Street, is abandoned. I mean, abandoned. You can go from one block from Tyler Street to Myrtle Avenue, and there's practically no one living there. And I'm talking about, these are not rental properties. These are properties owned by people that bought those houses. And now, if you also look through my neighborhood, you'll find out that about 65% is unemployed. Matter of fact, you go through there at 9 o'clock in the morning, you'll see grown people, young people, sitting on the corner. As a matter of fact, you got more drugs being sold in that area than groceries. So now, as America as a whole, I gonna say now, thinking how America itself was founded, and thinking how it was developed, and I'm gonna give you a point in history. That it's a type of group of people that I feel most sorry for, and that's the Indians in Georgia. That's what a group of self-hating, ignorant Caucasians got those Indians from Georgia, took their land, and marched them all the way to Oklahoma. It's called the Trail of Tears. I mean, the Trail of Tears. And then when you look at the other things of how this country was founded, I can understand why everything else is as it is. And see, you could, and on that fact, you can see why this country is the way it is, because some of them is ran by criminals. Not just the mafioso, but you got greedy politicians spread in there. And another thing, you Republicans, what do you really stand for? And I'm talking to you Republicans specifically. Y'all, matter of fact, you know what your organization is known for? The party of no. Now, why don't y'all get on board with the rest of the nation and try to help America? They hurt it. And stop kowtowing to the special interests, the lobbyists.
Mr.
And I'm
Jones.
finished.
Time has expired. Stanley Scott, followed by Dave Smith, followed by Lavoyes Partlow. Good evening.
Stanley Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. The Jacksonville Regional Chamber of Commerce is targeting 6 priorities for 2010. They are regional job creation, field stadium for Jaguar games, eliminate Mile Point problems, funding for nuclear carrier, downtown renovation. Now, is this the best that the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce can come up with? The only thing that really makes sense on this situation is for the fixed asset is eliminate Mile Point problem. Now, what is appalling about this? This is the best we got coming from our chamber. Nowhere do they mention education diverse workforce. I mean, isn't that why companies come here? Because of the workforce, the crime situation, I mean a better crime situation, and other numerous factors. No mention of financing local high school and college innovation. Every 10 years, jobs fade away. No, it's not always the economy. Jobs just fade out. Are they talking about things that's going to make a difference in this town? No. It's the same old bunch of cowboys running the chamber that you see all over the city government. And we having these problems with the taxes, what y'all call fees now. That's the new millennial word for taxes, fees. You promise to do the right thing for the citizen, and you have let them down. Now, I heard somebody mention something tonight that really bugged me. They say, why does the public has to all, the public, my question is, they say that the public need to understand. My question is, why does the public has to always understand when y'all screw up? I don't understand that. And the only problem I had with the gentleman on the Human Rights Commission was he come from the Laney posse. I know what Laney and the 50th Civic Council is up to. Control. They put in a weak mayor. He turned out to be very weak. Sold out the city when he had the opportunity to do something for the city in Tallahassee, and now we got all these fees. You have homes in Arteaga paying the same tax fee as people on the north side. Now, if that's intelligent, I'm the most stupid person in the world. Y'all have a good night.
Mr. Smith, Dave Smith, is he still here? Okay. Mr. Partlow, if you'll make your way up, followed by Jared Powers, followed by Margaret Mack. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Lavoyes Partlow, 1508 North Myrtle Avenue. Today I brought my daughter down here just to witness what goes on in this council, and I was appalled. And as I took her home, she talked about it all the way. So I just thought I'd bring that, you know. Her conversation was very interesting. But next, Mr. Ahmad, you know, it just amazes me that someone would ask him to come in here and say a prayer, and I don't understand it, but I guess it would go, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. We'll start it out like that. That's how he should start it with you. There's only one God. I don't know how many you guys serve. Sometimes they say you got one, some of you got three, some of you got however many you want. But it seemed to be a very, very racist thing going on up in here. But I say that all the time, so that's nothing new to you coming from me. Next, this courthouse, energy plant, and this Superfund cleanup that you have in this city, where all these young people need jobs. It amazes me that somebody can come from somewhere else. Like the one gentleman said, they had tags all over the country coming to Jacksonville to milk Jacksonville like we're just a cash cow. And we probably are just a cash cow. And there might be some, butter being made somewhere too, or some buttermilk, because somebody's getting paid, and it sure isn't those citizens of Jacksonville. Oh, that might be the problem with the tax base too. Have a nice day.
Mr. Powers, Jared Powers, followed by Margaret Mack, followed by John Nooney. Good evening.
Jared Powers, 27 East 63rd Street. Thank you for this opportunity to address the City Council. This is the first time I have been in here to speak in front of you, and that is because my aversion to politics comes from the meaning of poly, meaning many, and ticks, blood-sucking parasites. Now, board meetings where minutes are kept and hours are wasted, we spoke about garbage for seemed like hours, but your political strategy of boring out anybody that has anything to say worked well. But I'm one of the survivors, and we're here. But my chagrin is that we had a man, Parvez Ahmed, who he has affiliations that nobody can deny. He was on the Council of American Islamic Relations, without a doubt. How many people rose up and spoke out against any of your other nominees to Human Rights Council? How many other people went unanimously past? But as Miss Glorious Johnson, Councilwoman Glorious Johnson said, to even have this kind of debate on this issue is to our embarrassment. If there was any doubt that this man was credible, I would not vote for him or have him on my board. But yet we have in our city 6 out of 19 people did not feel that this man was worthy of the nomination for whatever reason. But yet he was nominated. We have questions as the city of Jacksonville that have not been resolved. And what I would just say to you in closing is that not one time did I hear anyone that opposed this man mention his skin color or his nation of origin, yet the people who nominated him claimed that those of us who dissented were racist.
Margaret Mack. Ms. Mack, followed by John Nooney, followed by Ahmed Jibo, if he's here, followed by Dr. Gene Youngblood, if he's here, followed by Neil Mengel. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Mack. I'm a postal worker here in Jacksonville. I reside at 3439 Hickory Nut Street, 32208. I come before you tonight to ask you to support us in the efforts to keep 6-day delivery service in Jacksonville. I'm sure many of you have already heard about the Postal Service plan to stop Saturday delivery, but I want to share with you a report that came from the Postal Service's own Office of Inspector General's office as early as January of this year. The Postal Service notified, well, they've been meeting for about 3 years now, saying that they need to cut back, close post offices and whatever. But this report that came from OIG states that the Postal Service has overfunded the retirees' health benefit plan under the civil service employees by $75 billion. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, the Congress has intervened and refunded money to the Postal Service because they were claiming they were broke. On Monday, my local, the American Postal Workers Union of Northeast Florida, along with the letter carriers, we're having a rally in front of the Postal Service on Kings Road, 1100 Kings Road. We're asking that you will come out and support us in this effort to get out to the Postal Service, that we're not going to just stand back and let them stop delivering mail on Saturday. Some of the disadvantages of that is, number one, people that receive their medicine through the mail, God forbid, they're like me and wait 2 or 3 days before they need their prescription filled. On a holiday weekend, meaning if we don't get that medicine on the street on Friday, it's possibly Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week before these people will get their medicine. Also, not everybody is computer literate. Not everybody uses the internet to pay their bills or to do this or that or the other. I can personally attest that I have several senior citizens that I know of that go to the post office to buy money orders to pay their bills. They don't trust banks. They don't trust somebody else to do whatever. They go to the post office, they get money orders. So what I'm here asking you to help us to get the word out to your constituents and the members of Congress to please support House Resolution 173, which requires the Postal Service to continue to deliver mail on Saturdays. Thank you.
Thank you. John Nooney, Mr. Nooney, followed by Ahmed Jibo, followed by Dr. Gene Youngblood, followed by Neil Mengel, followed by Israel.
Hello. My name is John Nooney, 8356 Bascom Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216. Now, what's being shown up on the monitor, is the river taxi leaving the South Bank at the Chart House, and just look at the close proximity of the 680-foot public pier on the North Bank. The opportunity to immediately tie in the South Bank and North Bank in that part of the river. Now, tonight, I just want to share a bunch of one-liners with you. And at the end, try to bring it to a cohesive thought, idea, suggestion that could ultimately be a benefit for the people of Jacksonville. Okay, public access to our St. Johns River, our American Heritage River. Blueprint for prosperity. Jobs for Jacksonville. St. Johns River Alliance, St. Johns Riverkeeper. The trust for public lands, the public trust doctrine. Ordinance 2003-627, 7 years ago, legislation which created our downtown Jacksonville overlay zoning district, whose boundaries extend from the Fuller Warren Bridge to the Matthews Bridge. Ordinance 2005-207, never voted on by this legislative body. 5 years ago, front page headline, Florida Times-Union, every issue is worth getting into. Shipyards, Landmar. Here is the 680-foot public pier. It's right here. 2007, 3 years ago, our downtown action plan. It's a plan of action. It's our action plan. 680-foot public pier. It's not in here. Now, 4 months ago, in the Florida Times-Union, State of Florida, Department of Environmental Protection, Florida Forever revenue bonds, $276 million. Now, here it is. Think about it. The state of Florida, Florida, forever, forever Florida. The state of Florida, Florida, forever. Doesn't it sound like a gator cheer? But here's what you have to ask. Is the money forever? The 2010 bonds are not a general obligation or indebtedness of the state of Florida, and the full faith and credit of the state of Florida is not pledged to payment of the bonds. Can we all say river tax? But anyway, let me just bring it back to the picture that's being shown in these council chambers. The 680-foot public pier. That is why the dialogue and conversation needs to start now on the 680-foot public pier that is in the Landmar bankruptcy.
Mr. Nooney,
in the weeks and months ahead, I hope
time's
that this
expired.
legislative body...
Mr. Nooney,
Nooney, your time is up.
expired.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Ahmed Jibo, Dr. Gene Youngblood, Neil Mengel, Israel. Mr. Mengel, come on. Israel will be after him, followed by Derek Bermudez. Good evening.
Neil Mengel, 1942 Niblick Drive, Jacksonville, Florida. I always thought that you couldn't really make a law or an ordinance that would cause somebody to be out of business. But you've already done it, and you're going to try to do it again, apparently. Back last year, unbeknownst to me, or I would have been down here because there was no notice to speak of, you created an ordinance. Of course, it followed state law, supposedly. And April the 5th, you, or the city, actually brought into place an ordinance that makes it illegal for me to do what I used to do, and I've done for 30 years, and now I have to have a low voltage license and get a permit. Now, you affected a whole lot more people with that than what you ever realized. And the reason I'm here tonight, though, is I did just get a glimpse of the morning news and find out that the Allied veterans are going to be in the same boat. It looks like you're trying to put them out of business, and with a law, and for some reasons that I don't really understand. I'm a senior citizen. I like to go to the Allied veterans myself. Everybody else apparently has left, but I figured I would at least come down and support them, because apparently there wasn't enough input on the situation for the low voltage deal. And it's going to cost me about $2,000 to get a low voltage license. And I have gone behind licensed contractors and had to repair their work. And they had supposedly the, should we say, the credentials to do the work. And if anything, you know, I'm a veteran myself. And I served in the Army, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of my country. And some of you probably don't remember, but back in 1980, I was kind of a regular visitor to the council and to the Environmental Protection Board. And I might say that I'm happy that the landing's finally going to get a parking lot. And back in 1980, the city was actually breaking the law with the EPA because they promised the Bush plant a sewage treatment plant, and they didn't deliver, and they ended up putting the sludge out on the west side in the Baldwin area, which created a lot of havoc for those that lived out there. But what I'm trying to say is the city needs to keep its promises they make to the people they're bringing to the area. And the city also needs to be aware of the fact that what they do at their city council meeting affects a lot of people. And I'd hate to see all those people that were here tonight out of work, in the unemployment line. And I would urge that you make sure that you vote appropriately for the 2010 326 bill that would, if you pass it, would put them out of business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Israel, followed by Derek Bermudez, followed by Aisha Covington, followed by Robert Wilson.
Good afternoon, Israel. One of the things I would like to get you all to back up on, Councilwoman was here during the time when it took place. If you go back and look at the tapes on the city council during the time that it was said that we was taking advantage of the 3 minutes, the second 3 minutes, that wasn't so. What happened was, and if you look at all the history, it never happened. What took place is when we was here talking about black contractors participating in city government, and we was pushing that real strong, that's where the problem became, because we was speaking twice about the different issues that has taken place, that we still was being left out with all the things that was being taken place. We was here 2 o'clock in the morning sometime trying to get the city to implement and to enforce the participation of black contractors. What happened was, and people got offended by this, quite a few people got offended by this, because Jackie Brown came on the scene, and she dressed as Aunt Your Mama, and she said to black council member that who was betraying the black community, told them to take their handkerchiefs off their heads. It's time for them to wake up and support their people. That's what all of this came about. And the next time she was escorted out of the council. She was banned from the city council for 6 months because she was expressing freedom of speech. And they stopped their second public comments because they didn't want us to be able to speak anymore about the different issues. I sat here tonight and I listened to various different things. I have many different things I need to talk about, and I can't talk about them because of the 3 minute time and only one public comment. And for instance, with the the 2009 895, for instance. Now, that played out real smooth. Now, that was supposed to be something about public comments, but y'all know what happened? And it happened more than one time tonight. Public comment never got a chance to speak on that bill, and the bill was passed and never heard from the public. Now, I understand y'all say, well, we need to go to the committee meetings, but we couldn't make it to the committee meetings. I can't go to the committee meetings every day, you know, and this is how we're losing out. But so we need to take the second comment and bring it back into play, and we need to make this work where that those that pays taxes and hire you all to work for us and represent us, then this is what need to be. We need to be able to speak. And none of y'all would tell none of the people that you work for you that if you told them, say, look, I need to talk to you for 15 minutes. If they walked out on you talking, they wouldn't work for you no longer. And that's the way this got to work. We got to respect each other and work with each other. And one thing I want to try to get to real fast, I do want to applaud you all that took the time, and I respect everyone's vote. But I do respect the fact that, I appreciate the fact that each one of you all shows something different about the Jacksonville behavior and the future of Jacksonville and dealing with the issue before. See, I ran out of time. That's why we need that other comment. I didn't finish what I needed to say.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Bermudez, followed by Aisha Covington, followed by Robert Wilson. Good evening.
Good evening. Derek Bermudez. Tonight, I want, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh. I was very embarrassed last council meeting I came here. I did bring a friend of mine. She was a Muslim, not knowing that the main topic of the debate was going to be about Muslims. I felt that she's part of this community, and the community is also a part of these Muslims. I know that the principal and council member is getting ready to honor the Protestants and the religious freedoms that come here, so I don't think it's a good thing that we're going to honor them and do all this stuff, and then next minute we're saying people are terrorists. It's a lot of us need to really look at ourselves in the mirror, not just the Confederates, but also our country, United States of America. My trip in D.C., my car actually broke down in D.C. I don't know what it was, if it was God willing or what he was calling me to stay in D.C. to really see what was going on. But as I stand in the middle of the rotunda, I noticed that all these men around me owned slaves or believed in slavery. You know, so it's like until we get out of the philosophy which holds one race superior and another one inferior, it's finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. That's some statements that King Emperor Haile Selassie the first made, the ruler of Ethiopia, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, who's also a descendant of Queen Sheba and King Solomon. He also fought the Pope and the Italian military when all of Europe came together to invade and embark on all the riches in Africa, whether it's the gold, the diamond, the plutonium, the uranium, and all those other natural resources. So, you know, they did all that in the name of Jesus, you know, in the name of Christianity, not counting all the Jews and Ethiopians that they throwed over the boats coming over to the new land. And that's hundreds of millions of people. Yeah, African Americans, they are also known as Jews and Ethiopian, but as time went on and as people started to change Bibles and have 40, 50 different versions of the Bible, we kind of get misled. And, you know, a lot of pastors kind of put and use fear instead of faith. A lot of people are being controlled by fear and not really, you know, showing their true faith. And I want to leave a scripture. I don't like to just take out one part of the Bible, but if you look in the Bible, Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, it will say a virgin will conceive a baby, and that name of that child will be named Emmanuel. But in the new part of the Bible, they tell you, is God be with us. So it's a lot of things that, you know, whether it be the Quran or the Bible, you know, my advice to y'all, man, just build your relationship directly with the Lord, you know, with God, if you believe in Jesus or Allah or Buddhism or Judaism or whatever. I know I found some research where all those different religions in Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, all of them live peacefully together in Jerusalem, you know. So it's a lot of history that we really need to look that's around our city that represents terrorists of the KKK and people who lynched and hung. So we need to really look at ourselves in the mirror, and we call them our great American heroes, you know. So I know I also asked, can we also make eye contact down here and be respectful for those who have the mic?
Your
but I
time
guess
has expired,
it's
sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Time's expired.
Just a joke to some of us.
Time has
Great
expired.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aisha Covington, followed by Robert Wilson.
I don't see her.
Ms. Covington. Mr. Wilson. Good evening, sir.
My name is Robert Wilson, 8612 Oak Leaf Road. I'm happy tonight that you voted Dr. Ahmed into the body. You know, I wonder one time, well, I wonder sometime, do you really read the Bible? I read the Bible. I read the Ethiopics. I read the Dead Sea Scrolls. I read all the works, and I studied religion. The definition for religion, is a way of life. That's my personal belief. It's my way. It's your way. You don't have a right to interfere with my way of what I interpret, nor what you. I don't think religion should be used as a litmus test. And this, it was for the last 4 weeks, it was used as a litmus test. That's dangerous. You must understand, I'm a Baptist, but I studied the Holy Quran. I studied the folks who came to America to establish America in the First and Second Continental Congress, the establishment of the Articles of Confederation that nobody talked about in the Second Articles of Confederation before the Declaration of Independence. Not one of those individuals and one of those things they fought for mentioned religion. Not one of them, because they were not religious. They were Freemasons. Every one of them. Robert Morris was a Freemason. Lauren from South Carolina was a Freemason. They was all Freemasons. They were not religious. And once you start putting religion into government, that was why that you left, your foreparents left Europe to worship God as they please. And the responsibility for that was that the Islamic tribes came into Europe in the 5th century, and they stayed there until the 14th century. In 1492, the last of the Jews and the last of the Islamic faith was removed from Europe, and Europe had come out of the Dark Ages, and then they had the Protestant Reformation, and it came out of that. But they came out with freedom. When John Wycliffe wrote that Bible that you read, and the Bible was written Henry VIII, when Elizabeth I wrote her version of the Bible, and they shifted the Bible from Latin to Greek. The Islamic tribes that came into Africa, that came with Muhammad across North Africa, they was there in the 16th century when the Visigoths attacked the Vatican and conquered the Vatican. They was there when they removed the Vatican in the 16th century. That's just lately. And they moved. That was Islamic tribe. They established the university
Mr. Wilson, your time has expired.
It's so much as a whole.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
That concludes our comments from the public, Mr. Vice President.
We have one gentleman right here, I think, who we missed.
Okay. I don't have a card for anybody else. Come on up if you'd like to. Let me ask you, sir, is it related to a specific bill?
Dr. Ahmed.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for your own quality,
Come to the.
Please come
I
to
want to use my time. I want to help your quality assurance. I submitted my card.
If you could,
okay.
Right. If you could speak in it, it's okay for you to go ahead and talk. We just want to make sure we had your card and we were in the right posture. So go ahead, state your name and address for the record and speak if you'd like to.
Sir, your point was you submitted your card, but it was misplaced or something?
Yeah, I submitted my card before a number of these speakers.
Okay, we apologize.
Okay.
Just for your quality assurance.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not complaining, but
all right, please state your name and address for the record, and we'll rock and roll here.
Earl Joseph Testy, District 14. What a joy, privilege, and honor it is to once again petition this august body for your undivided attention. As I was sitting here tonight, I was wondering, does the city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia or the city of Medina in Saudi Arabia, are they having a city council perhaps today? And what is the diversity of that city council? Well, I can tell you a little bit because I've been studying ever since September 11th, 2001. I have been waking up. I've been reading my Quran faithfully, and I've been studying about Islam. So I'm going to tell you a little bit. I don't know much, but I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I've learned. The city council in Mecca and Medina consists only of Muslims, because I know this because no non-Muslims are allowed to enter the city council of Mecca or Medina. No non-Muslims are allowed to enter the city limits of Mecca or Medina. How many churches and synagogues are our American missionaries building in the nation of Saudi Arabia? The answer is 0, because it's illegal. There are no churches or synagogues in the nation of Saudi Arabia. Yet, Saudi Arabia is sending billions, that's with a B, billions of dollars to the United States to build mosques here. Okay. For those of you who are not familiar with the Council on American Islamic Relations, and I've seen a lot of ignorance. I read the Times-Union, my father and I, and I've been trying to, I've heard some ignorance here from, with all due respect, from councilmen. And for those of you who are ignorant, and I noticed the Times-Union, it took them a while to start talking about it. At first they were talking about bigotry and race, and that's not the issue. It's not even Islam is the issue. The issue is the Council of American Islamic Relations, which Professor Dr. Ahmed was the president of, the national president. That's very significant. So if you don't, not too familiar with it, I recommend to you to go over here to your Jacksonville Public Library and check out several books by Robert Spencer, S-P-E-N-C-E-R. He's written extensively on the council. I need to hurry up. What am I going to do? I'm frustrated. Well, it is with fear and trembling that I am announcing tonight my intention to pray about God's will in moving the votaries to get testy for city councilman of District 14. I ran for city council in East Palo Alto, California 12 years ago. I learned more about civics just running than I ever learned from a political science professor. So I'm looking forward to learning about civics, and you can, if you're interested in what my campaign might be like, you can Google Earl Joseph Testy, and the League of Women Voters still has my web page. All the candidates' web pages is still out there on the internet. So just Google Earl Joseph Testy and my.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
If you can make sure you fill out a card so that we have it. Okay. Do you mind filling out another one, sir? Oh, no, okay, thank you.
Mr. Floor Leader, we have one more speaker, I believe. Ma'am?
Ms. Troop, did you also fill out a card if you'd like to come forward? Ms. Donna, if you could come to the mic and state your name and address for the record.
My name's Donna Troop. I'm with One Stop Thrift Shop at 3644 Post Street. I'm in reference to the 2010-253 signage ordinance, weekend directional signs. That's a no-no. I gave every one of y'all my recommendations at the LUZ, as well as emails to every one of you council members. I also have a sign out in the lobby. I want y'all to answer, is it illegal? Or is it not? It's 3.5 square feet in a metal frame attached. Why can I not put it out to the side of my fence line? Because y'all will not allow it, because it's on city right-of-way. Y'all say it's a traffic hazard to the community. It's not. Think about it. Street signs are traffic safety hazards if you have to slow down and look for a street sign. Addresses on buildings. Names on buildings for business is a traffic safety hazard. But I have recommended all these recommendations to y'all already in emails as well as to the LUZ board. So think about it, because I'm not backing down for none of y'all, not one. And I will be at every city council meeting that I will oppose this bill until it's passed correctly. The benefit of 7 days a week at lower permit fees, not $100 per permit fee if we are approved for our signs. We need it corrected as soon as possible, because I may have to close my doors after 17 months. I've taken young people from the juvenile probation department to teach them a trade, to do their community hours. If I have to close my doors, they go. They won't learn a trade. They won't learn a respect of this community. Another vacant building in this city. Why? Because y'all are voting on not letting us have our signs out, charging us high fines, charging us high fees, taxes on our properties. Think about it, because I'm not playing games. No more with the city council, not with the mayor. And Mayor Payton needs to come out to my store, as well as every single one of y'all, except one council person has already been out to my store. We had a long talk. We had a good visit. So I've invited every one of you. I've made several phone calls to the District 14 council person. No phone calls back. No show up at my store. Corrigan. And I would appreciate he would show his butt up at my store as well as every single one. Get your lazy butts off your butts and get out in this community and see what us people has to go through. Come to my store and work my store one day and you'll see what I'm going through. See how many customers I have in without my signs. If I put my signs out, I have 300, 400 customers a day. I only have maybe 7 or 8 at the most anymore. My revenues went down 95%.
Ms. Tripp, your time's up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. That concludes in the public comment portion. Maybe Ms. Johnson has a question.
Ms. Johnson, do you have a question?
Yes. Ms. Troop.
A question, please.
I wanted to see this sign. I'm sorry. You said you had a sign out there? Yes, ma'am.
Well, could she bring it into the green room so we can get on public hearing?
Would you bring
Thank you very much.
Get it and bring it over here? The reason why I asked, Mr. President, is that I went out there and I saw this huge city sign, and I didn't get a chance to see hers, but I was saying, well, why would the city have such huge signs and then the community have smaller signs?
Fair enough. She'll bring it into the green room.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Floor Leader, where are we at?
Mr. Vice President, is there anyone else who wanted to speak generally and not on a specific bill that's up for a public hearing on the agenda?
I see no hands in the audience, so.
Now we are set for public hearings, Mr. Vice President. Council, pursuant to chapters 166 and 163. Again, if you would like to speak on a specific bill that is now in front of the council, make sure you fill out a card and your time will be reflected on the podium in front of you. You have 3 minutes, and please make sure you state your name and address for the record. Council members, if you do have any ex parte communications on any quasi-judicial actions, make sure that you declare those at the appropriate time. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the bills.
2010-211. I'm sorry, 212, 13, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 53, 65, 266, 67, 68, 72, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, and
Is that all of them?
We got them all. Okay. Thank
Public hearings open on all those bills read.
Thank you. Bottom of page 16, Mr. President, Council 2010-212. We have Osro Baker, followed by Karen Fennell, followed by John Fox. And when I call your name, if you'll make your way to the front, plenty of seats in the front row. Good evening, sir.
And a good one it's been. Thank you. My name's Osro Baker, 2066 Shalot Drive West. We've been trying to respond to this movement and rezoning that they'd like to do and put it in the middle of a residential area where they have capable space, and they also, I could help them design it, but they've already designed one in town that would actually fit in the current area they have. But we went to the CPAC meeting, and we do see things that are consistent. I don't want to pull punches because I want to say that they have consistent deceptive remarks. For instance, they refer to the Fort Caroline Road as a driveway, which feeds about 10,000 people through there now. And actually, I used to never use that actual road, but now I do because it's safer than making the U-turn if I want to go west. And, I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Had a few hours sleep. I'm sure you're all tired too. However, also they say, well, it's going to be a 1,000 square foot store. Well, if you include the awning, the dumpsters, the air station, storage, it's going to be more like 4,200 to 4,500 square feet. And then they say, well, we're going to give you a 50-foot buffer of trees. Well, they came in there and planted some trees. Of course, they took more than they were supposed to. And there's some areas where we have 0 from our property line and maybe 15 feet. So everything's a little bit exaggerated, you know. They also mentioned in their program that on the back side of the store would be a 90% view block. Well, that's with 25 feet of space. 90%. That's just really hard to fathom by planting some shrubs that are this high and are dying like the ones that they planted behind us. Now, when asked about how many more vehicles would be coming and going, you know, because in and out, that's 2 more chances for somebody to get hurt, killed, you know, something like that. Well, their response was that they didn't know, and that they don't count the cars, they just count the dollars. Now there, I have to agree, they might have been telling the truth. We're steadfastly opposed to it. Crime, light spillage, economical impacts, and our property values. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Next speaker is Karen Fennell, followed by John Fox, followed by Brenda Fox. Good evening.
Hello, I'm Karen Fennell, 2066 Chalet Drive, and I've been here since 4:30. I'm sure you all have too, but I'm not here to yell at you like a lot of other people. I'm here to beg for your help. I am strongly opposed to the rezoning of this property and the building of the Gate gas station. It's going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. There's no need for a 400% expansion of the Gate gas station from 4 pumps to 16. Currently, there's over 72 gas pumps within a 2.2-mile radius of this property. A gas station on this property is going to have an adverse impact to the quality and character of life in Lauderdale and the general neighborhoods in this area, to include but not limited to excessive noise, bright light spillover, safety concerns from fires and explosions, decrease in property values, increase in crime and vandalism, and environmental impact issues such as toxic substances, fumes, and possibly water contamination. But a main concern is one of safety. Our children go to the pool in Buck Park, which is right next to this property. The relocation of the Gate gas station and convenience store to the south side of McCormick Road will create a high volume of vehicle traffic going across the sidewalks that currently people walk on and ride their bicycles on, and it's going to be right in front of the gas station. And also, there's an increasing possibility of fatal accidents happening there involving the pedestrians and the bicyclists that go to and from the Lauderdale, Raleigh Creek, and Hollyoaks neighborhoods that go to the Hollyoaks Community Center, to Buck Park, the swimming pool, and neighborhood churches and schools. There's currently a traffic light at the entrance to the property that they want rezoned and to build a gas station. It's already congested. There's a light there that when you come out of the Wonderwood, onto the Wonderwood Expressway from Lauderdale and the streets within that, you have to make a U-turn at this traffic light if you want to go westbound. The Gate gas station can be expanded in the triangle that they already own and have had a gas station there. Better use of this property would be to include it in the Buck Park. Please, I beg you, don't approve this rezoning. Save us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Fennell. John Fox, followed by Brenda Fox, followed by T.R. Hainline.
Come on, dude. Don't be.
Hello, my name is John Fox, and I reside at 2046 Shallow Drive West, Jacksonville, Florida, 32225. I'm going to be referring to this. I think I passed it out. Everyone has it. Basically, application 2010-212 proposes rezoning 2.35 acres of property from residential low density to plan unit development for the relocation and significant expansion of a Gate gas station convenience store to the south side of McCormick Road. Within the packet, I just have a few things that I just want to highlight and point out. On page 1 is the summary of community opposition points. On page 3, we have some supporting detail. On page 5, you'll see a zoning map from the city's website where everything in yellow is residential zone property, and you can also see how the gas station will be placed in the middle of this residential area. this may represent spot zoning and definitely an intrusion into the neighborhood. With regards to community feedback, you'll see on page 7 that there's an opposition letter from Greater Arlington Beaches CPAC. You'll see on page 10 is an opposition letter from Greater Arlington Civic Council. You'll see on page 13 is an opposition letter from the Greater Arlington Beaches Vision Steering Committee. You'll see on page 14 is an opposition letter from the Hollyoaks Forest Community and Swim Club that represents over 200 members. In addition, I have submitted into public record a petition with 124 community signatures in opposition to the rezoning of this property. And lastly, on page 16 is the Wonderwood Connector Corridor Land Use and Zoning Study. And I just recommend that if you could take a look at this over the next week or two, as this study was performed by the Jacksonville Planning and Development Department at the community's request in order to come up with an appropriate development plan for the Wonderwood Corridor. And the reason that was done is because the Wonderwood Corridor was designed as a transportation corridor, not as a commercial corridor, because the corridor actually transverses many single family community and homes. So the study consistently discourages any upzoning or secondary land use development that has an increase in densities and intensities, as this would negatively impact the character of the corridor. The rezoning of this property and the relocation of the station goes against the study and will begin the domino effect of commercial development in the Wonderwood Corridor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Mrs. Fox, followed by T.R. Hainline, followed by Ken Wilson. Good evening.
I'm Brenda Fox, and I have difficulty speaking here, so I did write and send or email each of you a letter. I'm 2046 Shallow Drive. Our neighborhood actually shares a border with this property. That's why it's such an emotional issue for us. I personally was raised next to a gas station this close. I know about the fumes, the noise, the lights, the rolling parties on wheels that stop and start it when they feel like it. They get comfortable. Things go on in the back of gas stations that children, and I was a children for most of the years I was there, should not witness. I please ask, I know you got a lot of mail at this time, but please find my email and read it. At the last, a year ago, when I'm so thankful that y'all voted this down, after the meeting it was alluded that only our little neighborhood didn't want the gas station. So I personally took a week and walked the streets of Rayleigh Creek, which is the next neighborhood, and I spoke to those people, wonderful people I didn't know lived there. No one, with the exception of one gentleman, there was one gentleman, so I don't want to misspeak, but no one else wanted this gas station relocated. There were a lot of people that didn't know why we were even rebuilding it. They thought it was gone. But there were people who wanted a gas station, but they did not understand why it was going to be relocated. They can put a wonderful station on their current property. Please don't move it to this residential lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fox. T.R. Hainline, followed by Ken Wilson.
Mr. Hainline, come on down. Questions only, Mr. Hainline, right?
Be
Just
very
joking.
brief.
Thank you.
T.R. Hainline, 1301 River Place Boulevard. It is late, so we look forward to the LUZ committee presentation and going into detail there. The only thing I want to say to you here tonight is to please read the Planning Department recommendation, which is for approval for this rezoning, and it addresses many of the issues that you've heard raised tonight, including consistency with the Wonderwood Corridor study, and the Planning Department addresses that and finds that it's consistent with the intent and spirit of the Wonderwood Corridor study. The intersection of McCormick and Fort Caroline was changed when the Wonderwood Expressway went in. It was actually shifted some to the east, and access at the existing station site was completely modified to a point where now, as your planning department describes, the access to the existing station site is unsafe. It violates your own city's standards on spacing from intersection. At the new site that is proposed by this PUD, the access is safe, and it's right there at the intersection, and it matches the intersection as it has been relocated and shifted to the east. And the PUD contains many other provisions relating to buffers and limitations that we'll go into in detail at LUZ. Thank you for your time tonight, and look forward to the presentations at LUZ. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Good evening.
My name is Ken Wilson, 3929 Charterhouse Drive, Jacksonville, 32224. Appreciate your patience tonight. I know it's been a long evening, and likewise, I'll make my comments brief. GATE has worked on this effort patiently for over 4 years now, beginning with the previous council member, Lynette Self. We've taken into consideration a lot of comments from the community, from the planning department, best practices, methods established by our city planning department, incorporated all of those, and we feel very strongly that this is an aesthetic improvement to the community as a whole and a safety improvement to current conditions that exist after the construction of Wonderwood Expressway, which left the triangle that they referred to in an unsafe condition as far as access and public safety. We will be moving to a piece of property, if this passes, that will provide more land, to provide more mitigating buffers around the property to mitigate the impacts on surrounding residents. And indeed, it's important to realize we are only moving directly across the street from where we currently exist. Appreciate your time, and hope you gentlemen have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
No further speakers on that bill, Mr. Vice
Public hearing
President.
closed on 212.
Top of page 17, 2010, 213, 234, 235, 236, 237, 238, and 239. No speakers.
Public hearing is closed on those bills.
Top of page 18, 2010, 241. Speaker Derek Bermudez.
Mr. Bermudez.
How you doing?
Mr. Bermudez. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Bermudez.
Yeah.
Bermuda, like the island Bermuda, drop the A and add EZ. Bermudez. You want to say it together? There Mr. Jose, I love you, man. Yeah.
I was gonna suggest.
Derek Bermudez.
Could you put Mr. Bermudez on hold for a second? Starting back at 3 minutes. I'd like to make eye contact with you, so if you would take off your sunglasses, please, that would be
These
a
not
great help.
sunglasses. These are HD vision glasses because I want to see y'all in HD.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, go ahead, Mr.
kinda,
Bermudez.
Block a lot of light because I got a lot of people who,
Thank you.
they do a lot of disrespectful in an indirect way. First thing I want to talk about is that I'm very disappointed that I got to sit in the audience and see council members go over time. I got to see a lot of people being disrespectful down here. I even see some people come up to the podium and, they go over their time also, but people don't cut them off. And Sergeant at Arms are not getting called on them, just like, how Sergeant at Arms kind of got called on me. So I kind of wanted to point that out to y'all because I don't want y'all to look.
Sir, we're on the bill.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want y'all to look like a bunch of communist, Nazi rednecks up here. So I'm trying to help y'all out. That's all I'm trying to do.
Appreciate that. You're on the bill. 240, please.
All right. Order approving $6,270 to the courts to replace U-shaped desks, bookcase, 5 drawer filling cabinets, and fax machines damaged by the courthouse flood. I just want to know, and I want y'all to realize that our streets are flooded with blood right now. We have a lot of blood in our streets, and I hope that we could find some money and some grant money to help out people like Jacksonville Youth Works as well as our Duval County public school system, because right now, like I stated before, it's a genocide, a Holocaust going on, and I hope that you guys really love our children and put our children first before we plant another palm tree or repave roads that don't need to be repaved. I really think that we need to kind of put our priorities in order and see what's the most important thing, and the most important thing is that our children in the United States of America are dying, suffering, or going to prison, or being misled or miseducated, and a lot of stuff in this country is a bunch of lies. So I'm very disappointed. I'm very heartbroken to know that we are supposed to be humble people and Christian people, and we're not really working together, and we need to draft up a bill, I want to see it in writing, Mr. Yarborough, that when I come up here to this podium, that people show me the same amount of respect. I can't speak for all the other citizens that come down here, but I want to make sure that when Derek Bermudez come down here, I could have people sitting up in their chair straight, making eye contact with me,
Mr.
not
Bermudez,
text
on the
message
bill,
and
240,
anything
please.
else. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
No more speakers on that bill, Mr.
Public hearing
President.
closed at 2:40.
241, 242, 243, no speakers.
Public hearing closed on those bills.
2010 253, if Ms. Troop is still here, she was on that bill. I don't see her. John Shannon and Michelle Baldwin on this bill too, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
If you'll make your way to the front, please. Absolutely.
My name is John Shannon.
If you could wait till you get to the microphone, Mr. Shannon. Thank you. State your name and address.
John Shannon, 2260 Cypress Landing Drive, Atlantic Beach, Florida. What we got here is, first of all, I'd like to know by the Vice President if he can answer this question for me.
Can you pull the microphone down, Mr.
Yeah, please, sir.
Thank you.
Did the mayor give us an executive order to put the okay for the real estate people to put out signs from Friday to Sunday all over Jacksonville, Florida, and everybody else's signs being took down and being fined $225 per sign?
I can't answer that, sir, but
Can
please
we
stay on
find
the bill.
out who did, please?
I'll look into that, sir.
Now,
Please.
I'll start, but
Thank
that's...
you. Go ahead. Your time is ticking away.
Okay, what we got here is, this is what's in front of us right now, you know, it's paragraph 19 or 19, the size of the signs that are being said it's going to be put 2 foot off the right-of-way that you're going to vote on, and at $100 a weekend or per sign, it's going to be able to put out on highway. The South City, the first city of the South, we've been trying now for what, 20 years to get this place cleaned up. I've been in business for 15 years, and in 2004, I was told I couldn't have a sign. So for 15 years, I've worked without signs, and I've managed to make it. Now, if you take this sign and you put me in my car, and I drive a Mustang, and this is the way it's designed, 6 foot, it says it right here, 6 foot. I can't see over that sign, and if I run out into traffic and I hit somebody, and God forbid it's a child, who is she going to sue? Is she going to sue me for putting the sign out? Is she going to sue the city for saying I can put the sign out at 2 foot off the right of way? Are we going to trash the city again, people? Come on. We were doing this in 2004, and I survived. This is just, I can't believe I'm back here again. I cannot believe it. Now, I understand the housing community's down. I also understand when they sell a house, they probably get about a $5,000 commission. I don't get a $5,000 commission when I sell a shrimp. I get a 50-cent piece. But I'm making it. I'm feeding my kids. But I'm not trashing the city. And if you turn it this way, it's not as wide, but now I surely can't see over the sign when I get ready to pull out. Do y'all understand where we're coming from? Miss Johnson, you was here. You know what I'm talking about. Miss Lee was here. She knows what I'm talking about. I'm in District 11. Mr. Holt knows what I'm talking about. I mean, I understand we're out here to hold I mean, it's hard. But let's don't trash the city again. Let's try to keep our NFLs. Let's try to keep everything up on the up and up. And by God, if you got to get out there and work a little bit harder.
Thank you, sir.
Time's
Sir,
expired.
Councilman Davis has a question for you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your comments. I am the author of the bill. It's a small business directional sign.
Right.
I have to tell you that some of the points that you brought up today are going to be addressed in the bill.
Okay.
It's not $100 a weekend. It's a $100 permit for a year.
Per sign.
Per sign.
Okay.
So basically, you get 52 weekends. You pay $100.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to make sure you understood that the height of 4 feet is definitely something that is a concern, and clearly we do not want to block any vision of people driving, so we're going to make sure that's lowered down to the normal sign size that you would see out on
Like
the
a
road.
political sign.
it would. I don't know
I'm
exactly.
not-
I don't know
I'm not-
exactly
listen.
what size that political sign is compared to what the normal weekend directional sign would be. But clearly, I think that's something that we will look into. Just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, that's fine. And what I'm trying to get at here is we don't. Land and Zone put 40 people in a building a couple of weeks ago and said, bam, 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 this is what we're going to do, and set them off into the city.
Right.
We can't even afford to do things that we're trying to do now. How can we afford to pay?
Let me say this.
And it's going to be the weekend. Who's going to police this?
Right. What I'd say is this. We all want to make sure we remove the quote-unquote snipe signs that are in the medians all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You have legitimate businesses who are trying to put food on the table just like yourself.
Sure.
And if there's a way that we can help connect customers with business owners at this time frame, we should be doing everything we can to do that.
Yeah,
And so that's that. Let me just tell you this too. Instead of taking up all the time tonight, what I want to do is I look forward to any more of your suggestions. I'd be willing to meet with you and talk about this. And if you have better suggestions for this legislation, I'm willing to look at them. So let me just leave it there, and then I'll be more than happy to meet with you.
I appreciate that. I got Councilman Jones, sir, who has a question for you as well.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, through the chair.
Yes, sir.
When you said real estate signs, were you talking about those in the yards or those on the corner?
No, these are all the way running down the streets. And what got me, Mr. Jones, is that the man pulled up with his lights in the city, got out of his truck, and said, if you don't move your sign, you're getting a $225 fine. And there was 15 signs running right beside mine that says home for sale, JB Homes.
Yeah.
I said, well, what's up here? He said, upstairs, said I couldn't touch them. I said, who's upstairs? He said, the man at City Hall, I mean, not City Hall, downtown in the city, upstairs.
Well,
and I mean,
Well,
I don't understand that at all.
It's my understanding that the signs in the right of way, irregardless of the purpose, are still illegal.
Yeah, they're illegal. I mean, I understand. We got people out there going out there with drills, drilling in the sidewalk, sticking signs in the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's where it's at.
Thank
But
you
yes,
very
I'd
much.
love to talk
Thank
to
you, Mr. Shan.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Baldwin.
Two-thirds present. Discharge.
My name is Michelle Baldwin, and we own two businesses, one on the west side and one on the north side. The things that I want to address, of course, are the safety issues that we just illustrated. Saying that the signs can be 6 square feet and 4 feet off the ground, and it doesn't designate a certain shape for the sign, that could be lethal. It could be very dangerous. Our businesses are transient merchant businesses. We're roadside vendors. So we see a lot of things that a lot of other people don't see because we're out there. We see the traffic issues, we see the sign issues. And we don't have the rights of a lot of other businesses, even though those two businesses have been at the same place for 15 years. We are not treated like a brick and mortar. We're not allowed to have any signs. We can't apply for a permitted sign. I don't know if we would be able to apply for this kind of sign, a permit, okay, because it didn't say in the bill. I'm sorry, the major thing that we have to address here is the safety issue. And the fact that we already have a major problem with the signs as it is. Every single weekend, I am picking up signs off the corners that are not picked up by the city workers. I mean, they're just stuck in the corners. They're in the right-of-way already. It's already an issue. I don't know how this could possibly be policed. When we have vendors that when we try to get called because we're paying a lot of money for our licenses to do what we do, and we have renegade vendors out there that are weekend warriors that come out and they don't have any licenses, and we try to call to get this addressed, and it's not because there's not the city workers on the weekends to address them. And here we're going to add another problem to it because this is going to be a weekend thing that we're doing with the signs. And how is it going to be enforced? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. No further speakers on this bill, Mr.
That was
President.
253?
Yes, sir.
Public hearing is closed at 253.
No speakers on 265.
Public hearing is closed on 265.
Top of page 19, 2010, 266, no speakers.
Public hearing is closed on 266.
And on 267, one speaker, Mr. Bermudez.
Mr. Bermudez.
You ready? Derek Bermudez. Just to kind of reiterate what I just said, I want to know which council member will be willing to hit their button so that we could draft up the legislation that's needed so that we could all have equal rights and justice down here.
On the bill, Mr. Bermudez, 267.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I got a little bit of learning disabilities. I was labeled as special ed and ESE in the Duval County Public Schools. If anybody want to kind of pull my records from my elementary school days and my middle school days, I am labeled as being an ESE student and special ed. So I'm not worried about that because I have self-confidence. And when I read my Bible, it say, "Hath not the Lord made the foolish of the world the wisdom of the world?" So a lot of people call me stupid. A lot of people laugh at me when I have came down here.
Mr. President, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Point of order.
I don't believe he's speaking on the bill, Mr.
I would agree. Mr. Bermudez, restrict your comments to 267 or you're going to have to leave the podium. Okay, sir?
Yeah, I don't have no opposition with that, but I would just like for y'all to give me the same amount of respect.
One more
that
time,
y'all
Mr.
wanna give
Bermudez,
me.
267 or you're going to have to leave the podium.
Order authorizing funding agreement, sublease, well, basically renovating building for dormitory facilities for medical students and residents to further and academic health. $3,287,330.25. Could we get some more money? Because I am working with Jacksonville Youth Works. I am working on a political as well as a medical component for that organization, and I do need more funding. That organization, we're growing out our building, and I would love to team up with University of Florida. I am a huge Tebow fan. I did get coached by Coach Howard, who also coached him in high school. He's a good friend of mine. So I hope that we could kind of, like I said, put our children and our health and, our public safety first so that we can all have equal rights and justice for all, not just for Southern whites. Right, Glorious Johnson? Thank you.
No further speakers on 267.
Public hearing is closed at 267.
None on 268.
268 is closed.
2010, 272, one speaker, Ted Corley.
Pastor Corley, how are you, sir?
Ted Corley, 1547 Harbor Oaks Road, Jacksonville 32207. I have no idea who Mr. Salem is, but if I read this right, he will served on this board 16 years. When this, if you pass this, you're extending his stay third and fourth term, which would mean he would have been on. I cannot believe that in a city the size of Jacksonville, when we normally regulate 19,272. We normally allow people to serve 2 terms, and I think that's important. I'm glad he's served 2 terms, but I cannot see any reason why in a city the size of Jacksonville we need to have anybody serving on a board for 16 years. So I'm hoping that you will say no and find somebody else. There must be somebody in the city who'd be glad to serve on this board in this man's place. But he's obviously served 2 terms. He's in his 3rd term, and you're going to extend that to a full term and then another full term to 2014. That just doesn't seem logical in a city the size of Jacksonville, that we should have to have somebody who's so important to a board that they have to serve. You have to waive the rule and extend their time so they can be on. And again, I don't know who Mr. Salem is. I'm sure he's a great guy and does a great job. But I'm confused by that, and so I hope that you'll vote no. He doesn't need to serve 16 years on any board in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Corley, for raising those concerns.
Unless the speaker here is, that's not 270. Okay, no further speakers.
Public hearing is closed at 272.
Move the amendment.
Got a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment carries.
Move 272 as amended.
Been moved to seconded as amended. I have no one on the speaker, so let's open the, no one on the queue, so let's open the ballot, please.
Mr. Webb, I think your vote button
Oh, I'm sorry.
switched. Yeah. You take Mr. Clark off, yeah.
Nine in favor, 5 opposed.
Thank you. By your action, you have approved 272 as amended.
2010-2, no, it passed. 2010-274, no speakers.
Public hearing is closed at 274.
Page 20, 2010-275, 276, 277, 278, 279, 280, 281, no speakers.
Public hearing is closed on those bills.
Page 21, 2010-282, 283, 284, and 285, no speakers.
Public hearing closed on those bills.
Page 22, the addendum to the agenda, top of the page, 2010-233, move to discharge from finance.
All right, we have a motion to discharge. All in favor? Do we put that on the ballot? Got to move the amendment? You got to move the addendum.
Move the
first, please.
addendum, thank you. Move
Okay, I
the
have a motion
addendum
to
to the
second
agenda.
on the addendum. Councilman Jones on the addendum. Gotcha. Oh, that was-
Thank you.
All in favor of moving the addendum signify by saying aye. Aye. Approved. It's been moved.
For a second time, 2010-233, move to discharge from finance.
I got a motion and a second to discharge from finance. All in favor of discharge from finance signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's been discharged from finance.
Move the amendment.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, the amendment is moved.
Move the bill as amended.
I have a motion and a second on 233 as amended. I have Councilman Jost on the queue.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just want to make clear, even though I've checked with legal counsel and I do not have to disclose that I own stock in a certain company that rents about 20 spots from Tony Slayman, who this bill affects his business tonight, and I want that on the record for full transparency. And also, we share common ownership in a certain company here in Jacksonville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jost. Appreciate that.
A certain company makes very good sandwiches, too.
Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I had a floor amendment. I don't think the original amendment reflected
Actually,
that.
I think Dylan just, the amendment, please clarify, General Counsel's office, please.
To the President. Essentially, this is the floor amendment. It incorporates the fair share contract presented to the TEU committee. It includes a waiver to allow for a pass-by trip study. And finally, it allows for the funds to be used for the widening of Kernan Road between Atlantic Boulevard and the Wonderwood Expressway.
So the amendment, through the chair to Mr. Reingold, did the amendment that we approved reflect that, or is this, or do we need to offer a floor amendment to effectuate that change?
The floor amendment incorporates all the things I
Okay,
just
so
said.
I'll move the floor amendment, Mr. Vice President.
General Counsel, do we need to move the floor amendment?
I had assumed, based upon our discussion at the agenda meeting today, that there would be a floor amendment.
Okay,
so that was.
I have a motion and a second on the floor amendment. Any questions on the floor amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the floor amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The floor amendment carries.
Move the bill as amended on the floor.
Move the bill as amended on the floor. I have no one on the queue, so let's open the ballot, please.
Mr. President, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We only have
6,
13.
7, 8,
Mr. Fussell stepped out.
12. Is Mr. Fussell in the green room? Bell, please have him return to chambers.
Apprehend.
We've escorted him out. We're going to escort him back in. Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. He's probably getting a Diet Coke. All right, we are on the bill as amended on the floor. Please open the ballot, record the vote.
Fourteen in favor, none opposed.
By your action, you've approved 210-233 as amended on the floor.
Mr. Vice President, that concludes our agenda.
Mercifully so. Mr. Redmond, please take us home. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Before we go to Mr. Redmond, I got Councilman Brown on the queue.
Yes, Mr. Vice President. Just a quick announcement. I was asked earlier if I could share this information, PSA. The Healthy Start Coalition is celebrating a Magnolia's Project 10th anniversary. It's going to be an open house Monday, May 10th, National Women's Checkup Day. We're encouraging women to attend this event. It's from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Magnolia Project, 5300 North Pearl Street. Just want to make sure that we put that out to try to encourage participation with health. Thank you
very much, Mr. Brown. And before we conclude, I want to thank everyone for the professionalism and patience this evening as we've wrestled with probably 3 or 4 of the most significant, important legal issues that have ever probably faced the city of Jacksonville. So again, thank you for your hard work this evening. Mr. Redmond, please take us home.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. 4 years ago on this day, the building started groundbreaking for the building One World Trade Center, Freedom Tower, where the towers were destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned.